What's going on, YouTube? So today, I'm going to answer easily the most asked question on my channel between my shorts and my long form videos. This is the number one question that everybody asks, and that is, how did I get into the paint industry, and how can they also get into the painting industry? So we're going to paint this car. I got a Toyota RAV4. We got a door with a blend. We have a door skin, and then we have a little repair here and a little repair on our fender. So my plan is we're gonna knock this job out together, and I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about myself, how I started working on cars, and how I ended up in a paint booth. And for the people who are asking how they can also get into the paint booth, I would appreciate if some of you guys who are in the paint booth would take the time out and drop in the comments how you got there as well. The more people that answer, the more value we can bring to the community and to the people who aspire to become painters. So for me, I started working on cars right out of high school. And what I was doing was detailing cars, which definitely wasn't a lot of fun, but it made money, and it made more money than any job I could get at the time. I was lucky enough to have a lot of friends that supported me and brought me their car and kept me busy. Eventually, I ended up getting my own shop and quickly realized I didn't want to detail. How the heck did that just happen? All right, well, see, this is why we're painting a car while we're talking about this. Anyway, I'm gonna just continue like nothing happened. I quickly realized that detailing cars was a hell of a lot of work and didn't make the most money doing it. I had a friend who at the time was wrapping cars, you know, vinyl wrap. So I ended up learning a little bit from him and basically turning my detail shop into a wrap shop. Now, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with vinyl wrap, but there are some things on cars that you actually can't wrap. You would have to paint them. The very common thing is grills, just because they're too intricate and there's no way to really wrap it and ensure that it's gonna last. So some grills I had to paint. As soon as I started painting anything, whether it was emblems or grills or anything, I knew that's what I wanted to be doing, not wrapping cars. So that, in combination with the fact that competition was growing and wraps were getting cheaper and cheaper in my area, meaning I was making less and less money, but my bills were going up and the income was going down, I started asking around if anybody knew any body shops hiring. I didn't ask for a painter's job. I just knew, let me get my foot in the door. I have a little experience, you know, taking cars apart and prepping them for wrap, which is actually very similar to how you prep for paint. As soon as I had a good opportunity come my way, I didn't hesitate, closed the doors in the shop, and I went back to work for somebody else. So I figured out how this happened. Basically, I didn't have my cup on all the way, so there's paint all over my gun now, but it was just dripping right out of there onto the panel. So I'm just gonna dry it. I'm gonna grab some of my reducer for my base, wipe that off, sand it down a little bit, and then we'll get back into laying our base. Now, was I excited about going back to work for somebody else after running my own shop for 4 years? Hell no. But I was excited to be one step closer to doing what I actually wanted to do. Now, when I first started this new job, I didn't get to do much of anything. You know, anytime you start a new job, the owner or whoever you're working for is pretty much gonna assume the absolute worst of you, because let's face it, I mean, I was in the position he was in. I was hiring people, so I know. If you ever have somebody new walking in the door, you really don't expect much. You just kind of learn not to expect much. It's unfortunate to say, but that's just the way it goes. You just always assume, you know, the next person you hire probably isn't going to work out. You hope they do, but based on history, you know they're not going to. Now, this is definitely the feeling I got from him, the feeling he was giving me, kind of like you're not gonna last very long. I've been through this before. One thing I should mention also, in this shop, this was an older guy who basically had one foot out the door getting ready to retire. And at the time when I started working for him, it was just me, him, and one other kid in the shop. And that kid was only spraying base coat, the owner was spraying the clear. So when I first started this job, and I realized he didn't really have much hope in me, I made it my mission to show this guy, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And you're gonna teach me. And the way I finally convinced him that I'm someone worth taking the time to teach was always getting to work on time, always doing a little more than he asked, and sometimes when I felt comfortable, taking the initiative on the next step of whatever it was I was working on. I also took note that he did all the body work and he hated doing body work. Now, was doing body work what I wanted to do? Hell no. But if I could show him that I could figure this out and do it good enough to the point that he doesn't have to do it anymore, maybe I can convince him the same thing when it comes to painting. And you can see how quick and easy we took care of that problem, just like that. Now, after about a year at this shop, I knew the other kid that was working there at the time was getting ready to leave and go work with his father on their family business. So I knew that was my opportunity to get in the booth, or I shouldn't say booth because we were painting in a garage. We had what was called a spray room. The guy I was working for had been there for 35 years or something like that. So it kind of got grandfathered in as something that would be allowed. Now that in where I live, there's no shot that's happening. You either got a full-blown booth or you're not painting. So I told that kid, look, what I really want to do is paint. So if you can somehow convince the boss to let you show me how you spray the base before you leave, that'll get my foot in the door, and I would really appreciate it. Long story short, the kid ended up doing that. He ended up leaving. Now I'm in the booth and I'm spraying. All right, we're all set for our drop coat. And once I started spraying, I mean, the rest is history. I stayed there for about 2 more years, learned a lot from that old man. And once I felt comfortable, I started looking for higher quality shops and started applying as a painter. And this is the 3rd shop I'm painting at now, and it's a very high quality shop, certified by Mercedes, and we work on a lot of high-end stuff. Mercedes, Porsches, a lot of BMWs. We do a lot of high-end work. Now, the moral of this whole story is basically, you got to get your foot in the door at a body shop, or this is how I did it. You could do it the more technical way, which is go to a trade school and learn. But the way I did it was through experience. But like I was saying, the moral of this is get your foot in the door of a body shop, then express to whoever's in charge what you want to do so they know your purpose of being there is not just to fill the role that you're filling at that given moment. Then work more than you're being paid for. Take initiative. Show interest, and when you feel like you're ready and you deserved it, have that conversation with the boss. If the boss doesn't seem interested in having that conversation with you, then you're probably better off leaving and finding another job, because there's no sense in wasting your time at a place that isn't going to help you grow. I think that's the best piece of advice that I can give you guys who are looking to get into the industry, honestly. If you put the time in and express yourself when you feel like you deserve that chance, and they're not giving you any hint of that becoming reality, don't waste your time. Move on. We're all set for clear. My hands are disgusting. Anyway, I have Omni MC161 in the gun. I'm at 23 PSI. Now, when I say just leave, take that with a grain of salt. Because you have to understand that these things take time. They don't happen overnight. You know, you're basically trying to convince a person to trust you with their money, because painting is not cheap. The one thing that I'll say is, if you are going to leave, just make sure that you're leaving with more skills than you came through the door with originally. This way, when you go apply to another shop, you're able to start one step higher than you did at the last shop. Now, I'd really appreciate it to all the other painters on the channel if you could take a minute and in the comments just share with everyone your story on how you got in the booth. Because this is just my way, and there are a ton more other ways to get your foot in the door of a paint booth. All right, that's our first coat. I'll let this flash off. I'm going to throw our second coat on off camera, and then I'll show you guys how it came out and give you my final thoughts. Oh, and before I forget, we have our winners for the PRD 815 and the Black Widow, or $150. That second place winner gets to choose. I'm going to pop that up on the screen right now. Congratulations to our winners. And now, back to the paint booth. All right, here's our finished product. So yeah, hopefully you guys got some value out of this video. Hopefully you guys who are in the booth like me shared your experience as well, so more people have an idea of options they have in terms of getting in the paint booth. It's all about showing your interest, taking initiative, and expressing your desire to move up. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or got any value out of it or were entertained, if you could drop a like, comment, and maybe even subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Till the next time, peace.